Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Imagine having like an ancient comprehensive guide, a genuine shortcut, maybe,
Hmm.
to understanding how to achieve ultimate security, fearlessness, and just profound tranquility in your own life. That's exactly what we're diving into today. We've got this fascinating collection of really insightful texts, excerpts from sections like Khemavaggo, Satipaṭṭhānavaggo, and Rāgādipeyyālaṃ.
Hmm.
These are all drawn from a larger body of Buddhist discourses. And they meticulously detail these pathways to, well, truly profound states of mind. So our mission for you, the listener, is to pull out the most important nuggets from these sources, help you quickly grasp what these ancient teachings suggest for achieving, real inner peace and freedom from all that mental baggage.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is how systematically these texts lay things out. It's not just the goals, the desired states,
Right.
but also the very specific obstacles you'll likely encounter on the path, and then the precise practices to overcome them. It really is like finding a detailed sort of step-by-step map for navigating your own inner landscape.
A map. I like that.
Yeah, and it culminates in what these texts consistently highlight, the eradication of defilements. They use this phrase, asava parahihonti, basically when wisdom causes those inner impurities, those hindrances to just perish.
That's a powerful idea, an ancient map for our inner world. So let's maybe start with the destinations on that map, these ultimate aims the texts describe.
Okay.
They talk repeatedly about states like khema, security, amata, immortality, abhaya, fearlessness, and passaddhi, tranquility. For someone listening now, how do these profound concepts translate? And how are they presented as something genuinely attainable, not just, abstract ideals?
That's a great question because they're definitely not presented as just abstract concepts. Not at all. The sources show they're attainable through a very specific progression, a sequence of deep meditative states.
Okay.
Think of it like climbing a mountain, maybe, with distinct, increasingly refined stages or plateaus you reach.
Ah, okay. Like levels.
Exactly. The texts delineate 9 such stages. They're often referred to as jhanas, as these deep meditative absorptions, and then subsequent, even subtler immaterial attainments. The first 4 stages, the jhanas, basically describe a journey. You go from our ordinary kind of scattered consciousness towards profound inner calm.
Mm-hmm.
You start by consciously stepping away from sensual pleasures and, unwholesome thoughts, finding a sort of secluded inner space.
Hmm.
And that's filled with a sense of rapture and pleasure initially.
Okay, so it starts with separation and focus.
Right. Then as you progress, that initial rapture kind of refines, settles into a deep inner tranquility, a unification of mind. You're less pulled around, and then it deepens further into a state of balanced equanimity. You still experience pleasure, perhaps even more deeply, but without the clinging, without the attachment.
I see, less reactive.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And by the 4th stage, the 4th jhana, you've moved beyond even pleasure and pain, joy and sorrow as we normally know them. You arrive at the state of pure, balanced equanimity and incredibly sharp mindfulness.
Wow, okay, that's already quite profound. But there are more stages.
Yes, beyond these 4, the path continues into 4 immaterial attainments. This is where perception itself starts to transform. You transcend the ordinary experience of physical form, perceiving space itself as infinite.
Infinite space.
Then, from there, you perceive consciousness itself as boundless, infinite. Then you move to a sphere described as nothingness.
Nothingness. That sounds empty.
Well, it's not really emptiness in a negative sense. It's more like a perception where there are no distinct forms or boundaries left. It's transcending that level of perception.
Ah, okay. Subtler still.
Very subtle. And finally, the 8th stage is a state so refined, it's described as neither perception nor non-perception,
Yeah.
almost beyond conceptualization.
Right, hard to even grasp.
Exactly. And the ultimate culmination of this entire sequence, the 9th stage, is what the texts call the cessation of perception and feeling, sanyavadaitanirudhi. Now, what's truly crucial here, and the texts repeat this, is that each of these stages, especially the later ones, consistently leads to the eradication of those inner defilements through wisdom. Panyaya kasidisva asava pakichahonti.
Wisdom is the key.
Wisdom is the active agent. But this final stage, the cessation of perception and feeling, is specifically highlighted. It leads to those ultimate states like khema, security, and abhaya, fearlessness, nipariyana.
Nipariyana. What does that mean?
It means unconditionally, directly, without any further conditions needed.
Ah,
Whereas the preceding stages, while immensely powerful and leading towards it, do so more parayana conditionally or by implication. They're like essential stepping stones towards that ultimate unconditional freedom.
okay, that distinction is really important. Conditional versus unconditional liberation. Now, here's where it gets really interesting for me. Beyond just these states of being, the sources also talk about achieving arhata, or arahantship, a state of full permanent liberation. What defines that ultimate freedom?
Right, arahantship. This is presented as specifically attainable by completely abandoning, really uprooting 9 core negative qualities, things that bind us.
Okay, what are they?
Well, they include things we'd immediately recognize, like greed, hatred, dosai, and delusion, the big 3.
Sure.
But it also gets more subtle. Things like anger, kota, resentment, upanaha, that's simmering ill will, denigration, maka, which is basically, disparaging others, putting them down,
Okay.
and domineering attitudes, palasai, along with envy, isa, and avarice or stinginess, macharya. The texts are crystal clear on this. If these fundamental qualities aren't fully abandoned, then arahantship just isn't possible. It's about a really comprehensive inner cleansing.
Wow. Okay, so we have this incredible vision of inner freedom, this arahantship as the destination, and a clear understanding of these deep-seated qualities, greed, hatred, envy, all those that need to be completely abandoned. But what about the more, let's say, general mental and behavioral challenges? The everyday stuff that prevents us from even getting started on that path, let alone reaching those states. The sources seem quite meticulous here, too, laying out several categories of obstacles.
They certainly are, very meticulous. The texts consistently detail many categories of impediments, and they're often grouped into 5s. Lots of lists of 5 things,
Okay.
which they repeatedly state need to be abandoned, overcome, or understood. We can think of them broadly as maybe ethical missteps, then mental hindrances that cloud our clarity, and also these subtle forms of clinging or ignorance that keep us stuck.
So, like different layers of obstacles.
Exactly. For instance, a very foundational set is the 5 weaknesses in training Sikhadubalyani. These are core ethical breaches. Things like intentionally harming living beings, taking what isn't freely given, sexual misconduct, false speech, lying, basically, and consuming intoxicants that cause heedlessness, that cloud the mind.
Right, you can see immediately how those would disrupt any path to inner peace or clarity.
Absolutely. Then there are the 5 hindrances nivarani. These are perhaps even more directly relevant to our everyday mental struggles. Most people experience these daily.
Okay, what are these 5?
First is sensual desire, that constant craving for pleasant sights, sounds, tastes, smells, touches, just wanting more pleasant experiences.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Then ill will, vyapada, which covers everything from subtle irritation to outright anger and aversion. Third is sloth and torpor, the mita, that mental fogginess, heaviness, inertia, when it just feels hard to focus or make an effort.
Yes. The mental fog.
Fourth is restlessness and remorse, udakakakuka, the agitated, jumpy mind can't settle down. And also lingering regret or worry about past actions.
That anxiety loop.
Exactly. And the 5th is skeptical doubt, vichikicha. Now, this isn't just intellectual doubt about the teachings. It's more a pervasive uncertainty, a lack of confidence that can really paralyze your effort. Like, can I really do this? Or is this path actually worth it?
Okay, wow. Imagine trying to meditate or even just focus on an important task with all 5 of those swirling around.
Right. It's practically impossible to find clarity. The texts also mention things like the 5 strands of sensual pleasure, basically the objects our senses grasp onto, and the 5 aggregates of clinging, upadanakanda.
The aggregates. That sounds more complex.
It's a deeper insight. It refers to our mistaken attachment, our clinging to our physical form, our feelings, our perceptions, our mental activities, and even our consciousness itself, as if they constitute some solid, permanent self.
Ah, clinging to the components of experience as me.
Precisely. The idea is that a lot of suffering comes from clinging to these temporary, ever-changing aspects of our experience as if they are fundamentally me or mine.
Okay, that's a big one. Any other 5s we should know about?
Well, there are others, like the 5 lower and higher fetters, which are specific types of clinging and ignorance that bind beings to rebirth, and also the 5 forms of stinginess and the 5 destinations to be liberated from. And one other interesting category is the 5 mental thorns, chatukula.
Mental thorns, like things that prickle the mind.
Kind of. They're specific forms of doubt or ill will that can really obstruct spiritual development. Things like uncertainty about the teacher, the teachings, or the community,
Okay.
or even having animosity or ill will towards fellow practitioners. It really highlights how important trust, confidence, and a supportive environment are for this kind of deep inner work. It's not just a solo journey against internal obstacles.
That's a remarkably clear and, frankly, practical way to frame these ancient obstacles. It really shows they're not just philosophical ideas, but deeply rooted psychological patterns we can probably all recognize. So what does this all mean for us?
The real power here, it seems, lies in the specific methods the sources offer to overcome all these hindrances, these thorns, these clingings. It really is like having that step-by-step guide for genuine mental hygiene.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. For the abandonment of all these various categories of obstacles we just explored, the hindrances, the fetters, the weaknesses, the stinginess, all of it, the text consistently prescribes specific, powerful sets of practices, tools for the job.
Okay, so what's in the toolkit?
Well, a cornerstone, mentioned again and again, is the practice of the four foundations of mindfulness, Satipaṭṭhānavaggo.
Mindfulness. We hear that word a lot today. How do these texts describe it? They emphasize it as absolutely crucial for dismantling those mental hindrances and other obstacles. It involves dwelling with ardent effort, clear comprehension, and unwavering mindfulness, essentially clearing away that background noise of covetousness and distress about the world.
How do you do that? By observing what?
By observing very directly 4 areas. Observing the body, sensations, posture, breath. Observing feelings in feelings pleasant, unpleasant, neutral as they arise and pass. Observing the mind in the mind, states like greed, anger, calm, distraction. And observing phenomena or mental objects and phenomena, seeing things like the hindrances themselves, the aggregates, the sense bases as they truly are in the moment.
So it's about deeply knowing yourself, your direct experience from the inside out without judgment.
Precisely, without getting lost in stories about it, just seeing it clearly.
Okay, there's one major tool. What else?
Then we have the 4 right exertions or right efforts, Sammappadhānas. These are very active mental cultivation practices, not passive at all.
Right exertions.
Yeah.
How does that work?
There are 4 aspects. First, the exertion to prevent unarisen, unwholesome states from arising, like noticing anger starting and stopping it before it takes hold.
Proactive. Okay.
Second, the exertion to abandon unwholesome states that have already arisen, dealing with the negative stuff that's already there.
Got it.
Third, the exertion to arouse unarisen, wholesome states, actively cultivating kindness, focus, wisdom where it's lacking.
Building the good stuff.
Yes. And fourth, the exertion to maintain, not confuse, increase, develop, and perfect the wholesome states that are already present, nurturing the positive. So it's this really dynamic, 4-pronged approach to actively shaping your inner world towards liberation.
That makes sense. Actively working with the mind. Are there others?
Definitely. The texts also describe the 4 bases of spiritual power, Iddhipadas.
Spiritual power. What does that entail?
These describe specific forms of concentration, deep focus, that lead to powerful insights and even certain abilities according to the texts. These arise from cultivating concentration that's fueled by different but complementary wholesome factors.
Like what?
Like concentration born of sincere desire or intention, chanda. Concentration born of sustained effort or energy, vidya. Concentration born of focused mind or thought, itta. And concentration born of deep investigation or discrimination. It highlights that profound mental clarity and power don't just happen. They arise from these focused, intentional, wholesome states.
Okay, so mindfulness, right effort, focus, concentration. What else is in this ancient toolkit?
Additionally, the texts detail 9 perceptions, navasanya, to deliberately cultivate. These are specific mental perspectives, ways of looking at things, designed specifically to loosen those really deep-seated attachments like greed, hatred, and delusion.
9 perceptions. Can you give an example?
Sure. Things like actively contemplating the perception of foulness or impermanence related to the body, asuhasanya, or the perception of death, maranasanya. Thinking about the unattractive aspects of food, ahard parikulasanya.
That sounds a bit grim, maybe.
It might sound grim initially, but the purpose isn't to be morbid. It's to counteract our automatic tendency to cling to things based on superficial attractiveness or assumed permanence.
Okay. To see through the illusion.
Exactly. Other perceptions include non-delight in the whole world, the perception of impermanence in all things, anikasanya, perceiving suffering within that impermanence, dukkasanya, and then seeing the non-self aspect within that suffering, anattasanya. Finally, perceptions of abandonment and dispassion. It's about fundamentally shifting how you perceive reality to align it with, well, reality itself, which naturally fosters detachment and letting go.
Right, changing your lens on things.
Precisely. And one more crucial point, remember the jhanas and the immaterial attainments we discussed earlier as destinations.
Yeah, the 9 stages of meditation.
Well, the sources also list that full sequence of 9 attainments as crucial practices to be developed. They are part of the toolkit, too.
Ah, so they're both the path and the goal, in a way.
In a very integrated way, yes. This shows the truly interconnected nature of the path. These deep meditative states aren't just endpoints you passively arrive at. They are powerful states you cultivate. And that cultivation itself is what actively helps to fully comprehend and eliminate greed, hatred, delusion, anger, envy, all those negative qualities we talked about.
That makes a lot of sense. The practice deepens the state, and the state fuels the insight to abandon the obstacles.
Exactly. So if we kind of connect all this back to the bigger picture, what's truly remarkable, I think, is how these ancient texts provide such a consistent, logical, and actionable framework. First, identify what holds you back, all those categories of inner obstacles, the hindrances, the fetters, the unwholesome habits.
Know the enemy, so to speak.
Right. And then apply specific, powerful mental and ethical training through developing mindfulness, applying right effort, cultivating deep meditative absorptions, shifting your perception deliberately.
Using the toolkit.
Exactly. Using the toolkit to progressively release those binds, cut through the delusions, and move step by step towards profound liberation, security, and lasting peace. It's presented as a complete, integrated system.
Today, we've certainly taken a deep dive into, well, an ancient and incredibly systematic approach to inner well-being, haven't we? We've seen how very specific practices, mindfulness, effort, concentration, perception shifts are prescribed for overcoming clearly defined obstacles, these 5s and 9s, and how this leads towards states of profound security, fearlessness, genuine freedom. It really is like discovering a forgotten technology for the mind.
It is. And perhaps this raises an important question for you, the listener, to reflect on, considering the detailed nature of these ancient maps for inner transformation. What might be the modern equivalents of these obstacles or defilements in our world today? Our information-saturated, always-on, high-pressure world. Think about things like chronic digital distraction, the constant social comparison fueled by media, maybe the overwhelming urge to react instantly to everything. Are these our modern hindrances?
That's a really potent thought.
And if so, how might these very practices we've discussed, mindfulness, right effort, cultivating focus, seeing impermanence even in our digital feeds, how might they offer a practical, maybe even essential, pathway back to clarity and calm amidst all our modern chaos? Something to consider.
Definitely something to consider. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those fascinating questions.